Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton blasts former coach and staff. Obviously, this story came out yesterday. It says, in a rare critique of the team's previous coach and staff, Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton told USA Today that his predecessors had done one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's a pretty serious accusation. Payton, who was hired this past season by the Broncos, sounded off on the former coach Nathaniel Hackett and others. Last season, Hackett was let go by the team after a 4-11 record under him. Now, listen, yes, there was a terrible job by the management, the owners, the coaching, just the whole thing was in shambles. Was it really on Nathaniel Hackett? I can't say that it is for a couple of reasons. Obviously, you have a star veteran quarterback who came over who was paid hundreds of millions of dollars. He didn't perform the way that he was supposed to. Then obviously, there were so many different issues as far as with the defense. And so, yeah, I mean, your head coach, he's brand new, he's fresh. Is he going to know how to really get a team organized and ready to go within one year or one season? No, not at all. But with that said, he did end up getting fired, and now Mr. Sean Payton is, the man over there. So continuing on, Payton, who was hired this past offseason by the Broncos, sounded off on former head coach Nathaniel Hackett and others last season. Hackett was let go. All right. The 59-year-old Payton didn't hold back on his disgust for the team's former coaches and the treatment of quarterback Russell Wilson last season. There's 20 dirty hands for what was allowed, tolerated in the freaking training rooms, the meeting rooms, Payton told USA Today Thursday. Why do they always go to the news? Why? It's always like some big thing in the news when they have these conversations. Goes on to say, I don't know Hackett. A lot of people had dirt on their hands. It wasn't just Russell. He didn't just flip. He still has it. This BS that he hit a wall. Shoot, they couldn't get a play in. They were 29th in the league in pre-snap penalties on both sides of the ball. Wilson, a 9-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion, had his career worst season in his first year in Denver, finishing with 16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and only 3,524 yards passing. Now, listen, we can't just take off the pressure from Russell Wilson. I get what Sean Payton is trying to do here. If you're not reading between the lines, Sean Payton is basically trying to boost up Russell Wilson's mindset, his ego, basically trying to show that he's standing behind him by saying all this stuff. Like, hey, it wasn't Russell, all right? It wasn't him. It was everybody else. Now, Russell, go out there and win for me because I'm going to make sure I get everything going good here and restructure this whole process, and we're going to go out there and turn this whole franchise around. That's what he's doing when he's throwing everybody under the bus. It's good for morale. It should rally the team, boost everybody up, and hopefully they do just that. Well, let's continue on. Goes on to say that was the parents who allowed it to happen, Payton added. That's not an incrimination on him, but an incrimination on the head coach, the GM, the president, and everybody else who watched it all happen. CNN has reached out to Broncos for comment. Payton's sharp commentary of a fellow NFL coach is uncommon along the league's coaching fraternity. He took aim at Hackett's new employer, the New York Jets, who hired him as the offensive coordinator this past offseason. The Jets had a big offseason after trading for four-time MVP Aaron Rodgers and were recently named a participant in HBO and NFL Films' 5-part docuseries Hard Knocks. We'll get to the Jets later because there's another big story surrounding them. But continuing on, despite the big acquisitions and big media hype around the Jets, Payton feels the team will fail to live up to expectations. It's really tough hearing from Payton, especially with all the talent that's over there right now. But hey, maybe he knows, and maybe he's preparing for Week 5 against those Jets, which looks like it's shaping up to be an interesting game. We're not doing any of that, Payton said. The Jets did that last year, or did this. Jets did that this year. You watch Hard Knocks, all of it. I can see it coming. Jets head coach Robert Saleh addressed the comments while talking to reporters during training camp on Thursday. Saleh said Payton can say whatever the hell he wants. I kind of live by the saying, if you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. That's the truth. Let's take a drink to that. So hate away, Saleh said. Obviously, we're doing something right. If you're going to talk about us, We don't play you until week 4, and I'm good with it. The guys in the locker room, they've earned every bit that's coming to them and really excited about what's going on. So listen, I'm definitely excited with all this banter, all this back and forth. Sean Payton going off, showing his grit, determination, his will to get his team fired up. And then obviously coming at the Jets too. I like it. It sets up a good little camaraderie. It gets us going for the season. And I'm definitely ready to go as far as seeing what's going to happen there. Now, listen, if the Jets lose to the Broncos, it's going to be absolutely wild. But if they get beat, all this talking goes out the window, and it's going to make Sean Payton just look absolutely stupid. So, yes, I'm all for this, and I want to see it because either way it goes, it's going to have huge ramifications in the conversation that happens the next day, and I'm definitely going to be talking about it and referencing back to these stories. So, yeah. Shout out to Tactical, says he's buttering up his quarterback. Yes, he definitely is. Tactical says, what's Payton going to say if they lose week 5? That's what I'm saying, right? If they do lose, what is the conversation going to be? What kind of excuse is Payton going to be able to come up with? Because it's going to be a real issue with all these words right now if he can't come out and perform and Russell Wilson turns out to be a bust. Shout out to you, Tactical, says I wouldn't want Payton as my head coach regardless of him winning a Super Bowl. Dude is toxic. Well, listen, like I said, we can go back to Bounty Gate, right? We can go back to that where he was paying certain players to go out there and, get a big hit on somebody and either hurt him or take him out the game. But listen, he's not the only one who was doing dirt, right? There's so many different issues and things that we don't know about and stories that people haven't brought up. So, we'll just move on from that. But there you have it as far as Mr. Sean Payton in regards to what he said. And then here's the recap to the story today. I've not watched the video yet, so let's go ahead and get into it.
Yeah, listen, I had one of those moments where I still had my Fox hat on and not my coaching hat on. And, I said this to the team in the meeting yesterday. We've had a great offseason relative to that, and I've been preaching that message. And here I am, the veteran, stepping in it. And, it was a learning experience for me. It was a mistake, obviously. I needed a little bit more filter. There's a pound of flesh for these guys. And as a coach, you stick up for them. And after a while, we're past that season last year. And I said what I said. And obviously, I needed it a little bit more restraint. And I regret that. That being said, what I told the team. They said he went back and looked at the roster and he changed his mind. He's like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have said all that because now if we lose, how am I gonna change this around? How am I gonna take all this back? And that's why I named this stream No Takebacks. So now I'm gonna flame you, Sean Payton. You don't go on national TV and say garbage and then walk it back. What are you doing? This is absolutely terrible for football. If you're going to say something, stand on it, defend it, and then go out there and prove it on the field. Listen, this is why I had to get the drink. This is why I had to get it, ladies and gentlemen. I had to do it tonight. I had to do it just because of this conversation. You don't take stuff back after you say it because now you look weak. See, we got to start bringing people to the front when they say stuff like this. And that's why I'm doing it. But let's go ahead and finish it up. Let's finish it up. Team is, if it can happen, and I think I'm pretty good relative to working with the media and pretty savvy. And I just had one of those moments. Jared's a good friend, real good at his job. And 2 lattes in the morning, first one I see, and
40 minutes later, I'm regretting it. So it is what it is.
Listen, so he goes from this throwing everybody under the bus to, well, I definitely should have watched my words. I'll bring you guys some coffee and donuts in the morning. We'll make up. Go Broncos. Let's ride. Oh, you can't make it up. Can't make it up. So, shout out to Tennessee Tactical. Says, Jay, we talk about accountability all the time. He's covering his butt. Listen, this is why we have these conversations. I know some of you guys be like, Jay, why are you always like lecturing and stuff like that? It's very simple. When you say something, you stand on your word. I don't care what it is. And this is the kind of stuff that changes the perception as far as your players, because guess what? I'm sure that these guys were fired up and ready to go as soon as they heard him say this yesterday. And then this morning he gets on a press conference and you're like, well, what the hell are we supposed to do now? He doesn't really believe in us then. That's how I would feel. Stand on your word, mean what you say, and go out there and prove it. I'm excited to see how this Jets and Broncos game goes, though. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Shout out to Patty Hassett coming through with the $5 super chat. Shout out to you, Patty. Thank you for the donation. Also, text 713 coming through with the $4.99 super chat. Shout out to you, text 713 for the $4.99. Shout out to both you guys for donating to the channel and supporting your boy Jay. Thank you so much as we continue. So, with all that said, I think the biggest thing is really understanding when you say something, the ramifications of it, why it's important to not only keep your team morale at an all-time high, but if you're going to utilize that to help your quarterback and the team, then so be it. Stand on your word. I expected more from you, Sean Payton.